What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what caused this crazy roller coaster today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi went down 2.54%, 23.70 the low, 25.28 the high, but a fair amount of volume. So 75.5 million shares being traded, 75.2 is the average. So as far as data points, we did have manufacturing that came out at roughly 9 a.m., came in at 48.7. Forecast was 48.2. This in among itself is good, didn't really move the market all that much. And so based on Trump and what he posted, it shows that he feels the market went down because it really wants tariffs. And he's more alluding to kind of that court ruling that came out on Friday that's going to keep the actual tariffs in place up until October, but afterwards it's kind of gray. So in his eyes, the market is really yearning for tariffs, and so that is why things went down. In my opinion, it was over the long weekend. People had time to digest, probably had a little bit too much time on your hands. And so, of course, we all looked at the market, broader indexes, and saw what has actually happened over the last little bit. So everything has gone up, kind of very much euphoric. And essentially, one thing that people generally know is September sucks. You can even see based on all of these months, December seems to be also negative, but nowhere near as bad as September. So over the last 10 years, on average, it does go down 2.2%. So of course, with a lot of people having too much time on their hands over the weekend, we're just like, hey, you know what? September sucks. Let's sell everything. And what's comical about the mentality of this market right now is in the past, something would take like 2 weeks. So of course we would go down over a 2-week span. Nothing crazy, but nowadays, if we know a negative is happening, we're just going to rip it off like a band-aid. Max sell, just whatever, no patience whatsoever. So it's kind of a good thing, good for day trades, good for buying the dip type of mentality. But this is why, in my opinion, the market did go down. So let me know your thoughts, whether you think it's actually the market crying over tariffs and really wanting the tariffs, or if you think it's more psychological. Associated to SoFi today, there was no news, no SEC filings or anything along those lines. So it was just pretty much at the broader market's mercy. Shorts, though, they didn't really take advantage and do all that much. They did increase 34,000 shares. So that's kind of a drop in the bucket. 9.3% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 109.49 million shares overall being shorted. And then DTC still sitting at 1.55 days. So insinuating that shorts are still overextended. When it comes to options, you had 36 million in calls, 10 million in puts. So kind of low dollar value in comparison to what it has been. But as far as today, net premiums did go down 382,000, and then 43% of all the options being done today were bearish in nature. For those of you that watched my video over the weekend on some expectations, there was one thing that I've really been noticing across the board, and that was just lower volume. So I don't know if big money somewhat knew that this type of event was going to occur on, or I guess today. And same goes for options. If you actually read through a lot of the options data, you kind of saw some hesitation. More and more hesitation was kind of growing. So once again, maybe just the mentality of September sucking was kind of the main culprit. But aside from that, though, from a bull standpoint, you do see a consensus for it to recover to roughly around that $26 to $27 range. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 23 to 24. So still somewhat evenly divided, with us closing at 24.91. So potentially as well a little bit more upside on a side note. These are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So 1.4, 1.03, 1.9. 2 million, 1.2. So a lot of big transactions being done after hours. Throughout the trading day, somewhat evenly divided between buying and selling. Dark pool, very active. Not crazy transactions on this exchange though. So 2.9 million that was just done after hours. And that seems to be the only one, I guess, above, or it looks like close to power hour. There was a 6.2 and then a $4.2 million transaction. And that seems to be pretty much the big big ones. It looks like a duplicate, 5.01, 5.01, so most likely that is a hedge fund. But aside from that, like I said, I think it was just everyone reacting to just the broader market. Aside from that, with it closing at 24.89, it is trading now between this R1 and the pivot. I'm looking at the one-day chart as well, so very strong support and resistance points. So 24.25, it did go down, broke past that like it was butter, so it didn't really hesitate. So I wouldn't really consider this extremely strong support, but in theory, that is something just to kind of keep in mind. So 24.25, and then 26.54 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. Moving over to the 4 hour, just to give you a good overview in case you want to day trade, swing trade, or whatever else. Right now, it is trading between these 2 points, so this S1 and this S2, 24.54, and then 24.96 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. Again, looking at the 4 hour, it's not really as strong as the 1 day support and resistance, but if you're wanting to day trade, just keep that in mind. Aside from all of that fun stuff though, you still do see a lot of walls, good buys going on. Couple strong ones roughly around that 25.50, and as well around that kind of $25 mark for the most part, where it's kind of at after hours. But aside from that though, nothing really crazy with articles. There was one that came out from Yahoo that was posted at 10 a.m. somehow comparing SoFi to IFS. So this is the first time I've ever seen that comparison, so that was kind of abnormal. IFS is this one. So Intercorp Financial Services. So for those of you that are familiar with this stock, is there any basis to that? Or is it just financial sector and they're kind of grouping it together? I don't really see it being comparable whatsoever, but what do I know? Aside from all that though, flow definitely does signal that algos were kind of in full force today. Aside from that though, it still did close and was able to close above that 10-day moving average. So generally that's seen as more of a kind of trend change. So for at least tomorrow, just watch for it to continue to stay above that 24.68. I know I throw a lot of different numbers at you. It's kind of to appeal for different types of traders, whether you're a day trader, swing trader, or whatever else. But yeah, when it comes down to SoFi, I think it did do fairly well. No different than every other time it sells off. It's a premium stock to buy the dip on. So yeah, it always does recover. There's always a lot of institutions willing to buy it up like crazy. So let me know your general thoughts on SoFi. Did you get like panicked today by it pulling back? I can obviously tell from social media a lot of people did sell out, but or vice versa. Did anyone line up to buy a SoFi? I did buy some stocks today, not SoFi. It was kind of on my radar, but oddly enough, my attention kind of went elsewhere today. But let me know your thoughts on SoFi. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.